All right. Here's a late night upload and an update on what happened today at the La Jolla rooftop deck walkthrough. I've been in I've been in this crazy mood all day, just thinking about the direction of everything and, trying to get, trying to throttle my excitement so I don't come off like a giddy goofball. But this space is such a cool and unique place to build a deck. The opportunity here is great. And, I had this whole list of questions and talking points to have with the owner of the property. And it's kind of funny because I was expecting to come out of there with a bunch of, or a real good understanding of what they wanted to see there, and what they were gonna. I got some questions answered about what they're gonna use that space for, and what the deal is with that property and everything. So apparently, here's how it goes. All right, I'm just gonna. It's a guy who doesn't live in town, but he owns several different properties around California or wherever, and he uses them for different venues. And for this week, this house is being used for a wedding per se, but he had a staff member who will be my point of contact for this job, because he really strikes me as the kind of guy who has a lot going on. He's been successful enough to purchase an extra multi-million-dollar home in La Jolla for business ventures. And so talking specifics with a contractor like me, it's not really how this guy chooses to spend his time. He has people that do that for him. And so his contact that reached out to me, she was very sweet, and I corresponded with her a little bit after asking him a couple questions and getting to take some pictures of the space, understanding how big it is. But I didn't really get the feeling that diving into the wonders of deck design was really up his alley. So I feel like I'm going to be kind of doing that with my point of contact. And as soon as I left the meeting, I reached out to my point of contact, and we kind of texted back a little bit, and I kind of let her know how the meeting went. And we have some back and forth about some design details that we need to kind of iron out. I sent them over a couple renders, quick ones, just stuff to kind of sell the idea. And she loved it all. And then I touched on trying to understand budget and timeline. And she said the two things I didn't want to hear. I was let's get it done for as cheap as possible and as fast as we can do it. And I think you can always wait. You could grow a lot of gray hair just waiting for the right opportunity with all the right variables to happen and land in your lap, but it doesn't really work like that. You have to kind of put yourself in a position to allow those opportunities to come. And I want this job to, if I do get this job, it's got to check all the boxes. I got to be able to make money doing it. I also want to deliver a magazine worthy project, because that's what this property deserves. It deserves to have a deck on top of it that's it should be featured in Sunset magazine or some stuff. property is incredible. And but it concerns me to have a point of contact, because I don't necessarily think that the property owner worries so much about what it costs. Or at least I don't get that picture. But I do imagine that his staff is under a certain amount of pressure to deliver like good deals, and so there's going to be a little bit of a feeling out process. Like I think qualifying this job is going to take a little bit more finesse and negotiation and just time spent trying to figure out whether this is the right project for us or not. I really want to make it happen. It would be a stunning deck, and it would have some really unique features, and it'll require the whole 9 yards. It'll require structural engineer, it'll require permitting, it'll require all sorts of special inspections, especially for like the waterproofing, and it's like, at the edge of that circumference overlooking the water, it's like 30 feet down to the ground. So those railings are going to have to be big, sturdy, structurally inspected. At least that's my guess. And, there's some things to figure out about how do we get people up there. This is essentially a venue, and there will be small parties up there. The property owner made a mention of like, I've had my structural engineers tell me that 200 people could be up there if they wanted to be. But I've worked too hard and for too long, built this business to just trust words like that. So I really want to do everything by the book with this. And that takes time and money, and to do everything the way that California wants you to do it. So when they say timeline as soon as possible, it's really got to be worth it, because I'd be bumping other people in the queue to make it happen. And the juice would really have to be worth the squeeze. Because I'm sure there's 1,000 other contractors in this town that would take that job. And they might do it cheaper. I don't know. But this is the kind of stuff that's like, that keeps me up at night and keeps me, like, my brain moving all the time. I really should be inside, like, doing the dishes, getting ready for the in-laws, and enjoying my weekend in Big Bear, but all I really want to do is finalize this deal. That's all I can think about. But, sending over some of those renders was kind of cool to get like a bunch of positive affirmation about some of my ideas for that space. And the point of contact was like, this all looks amazing. I wish I would have been able to be there to meet you. And it seems like you have some really good ideas for that space. And so we will have more information soon. Tomorrow, it's just about waking up in the morning and finishing strong on our current project. We have like a couple small other knick-knack things that were discussed after we started this last leg that were out of the scope. So it's kind of like, change order, more like added work at the end under a whole new, agreement. But we have hopefully a sauna to be framing next week. And I'll be hopefully getting some of those plans and schematics over the weekend, and I can kind of like look them over and figure out what my plan is like late in the evenings after the kiddo goes to bed, and we're all just kind of hanging out. It sucks to bring work with me everywhere, but I think that's kind of like the life of a contractor. It just never stops. And you got to find a way to juggle it all. So anyway, here's my late night ramble, episode 5. There'll be more to come. Oh, another thing too. I met with a friend of mine I'm going to bring onto the team. And I don't know how I'm going to afford to pay him, but I'm going to find a way. And he's going to kind of help me produce these videos. He's going to be on site taking videos of the team doing things, kind of handling some social media. I want him to be kind of like a brand coordinator. And I think his skill set is going to really complement my lack of skills in this like avenue of being an entrepreneur. And I think I'm going to learn a lot from him, from just like understanding how all the social media stuff works in tandem and together symbiotically. It's really hard for me to connect all those dots and make sure that I'm, on a schedule with my social media, doing everything I can to direct leads to my website. My website's going to need a little bit of work because it's good and it's passable, but I want it to work for me. I want it to actually like generate income, and by that I mean qualify customers. But I also want to I want it to be a resource for people as well. So links to different industry related news and things like that. But sometimes I have a hard time like thinking too broadly, and I think that bringing on this new guy is going to help me kind of narrow down and become a little bit more actionable about some of those small steps that bring us to those bigger ideas. And so I was kind of stuck between two things. I either wanted to bring on like a lead carpenter, somebody who I could basically, somebody who's probably better at building than me, who just didn't want to deal with all the headache of running a business, but wanted to be outdoors building decks, beautiful decks. And I believe there's some guys out there, and I'll find them. So it was either between that or somebody who's going to help me grow the business side and the marketing side of my business. And I'm going to have to continue to work the bags and the job sites and do some of the physical work myself for a little while longer. I've got a few more years left in these knees, but so I kind of flipped a coin, and I started thinking about how I'm going to incorporate him. How can I define this role? What kind of metrics can we set up that will help us track your value to the business? And I think he's all on board. I had lunch with him today before the walkthrough, and I got a good feeling about him. I think he's got a good heart. He's got a good head on his shoulders. And I played basketball with him for like maybe a decade now, and we get along really well on the court. So I think he'll be a good addition to the team. And so there'll be more news about that too. How did we deal with staff? What does that look like monetarily? We'll start talking like real numbers. I'll start letting people know like what the business is doing, how healthy is the business, because I think we're really lacking that in the contracting world, especially on like YouTube and stuff, is like people just being real honest. I think everyone likes to gloat, and everyone really likes to like show off, which is great. And I'm not hating on anybody for that. Like whatever works for you, by all means do it. For me, I'm going to try to show the real over the shoulder look. Like, we're going to talk about how much my workers' comp policy actually costs. And we're going to talk about the 401k match and like whether or not employees find that to be incentive, or is it more of an immediate cash need that's going to motivate my team to want to like buy into my vision. how much does it cost for FICA and FUTA and all that and all those different wage brackets, how that affects my overhead, how I can sell jobs, what my profit margins, what I aim for them to be, what my markups are. We'll talk about all that. I'll be completely honest, and we'll save that for like later episodes. But like, I just wanted to make sure that I got a little bit of an update out there after the walkthrough, so you can see me all excited, and then you can see when reality hits, shit hits the fan, and you got to really figure out, okay, how am I going to turn this opportunity with all the variables into a lucrative endeavor? Again, keep it short, keep it sweet. I'm going to keep pumping these out, and they're going to get a little bit better. I'm going to figure out how to take my microphone and take it from mono to stereo. I will figure that out soon. But anyway, again, it's late, and if you've stuck with me this long into the video, I appreciate your attention, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks. Good night.